Before we dive in, let me know in the comments where you're watching from today, and if you enjoy stories like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Oh, and here's a fun question to get you thinking: have you ever met someone who turned out to be completely different from who you thought they were? Drop your answers below, I can't wait to read them. It was just another dusty afternoon at the edge of town. The sun was shining, but the air felt hot and dry, like when you forget to water the plants for too long. The circus had rolled in, and boy, was it a sight to see. Big red tents popped up like giant mushrooms, their bright colors shining under the sun. Tiny lights twinkled all around, like stars that decided to come down to earth for a visit. Kids were everywhere, running and laughing, their voices loud and happy. Popcorn machines went pop, 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 sending little white puffs flying into the air. And oh, the smell! The sweet, sticky smell of cotton candy floated around, making your mouth water just by breathing it in. The circus was a place of fun, a place of magic, a place where anything could happen. There were clowns with big red noses, jugglers tossing balls high into the sky, and even a lion tamer who could make the biggest, scariest cats sit still like they were just fluffy kittens. Everyone was smiling, clapping, and cheering. It was the kind of place where you forget all your worries and just enjoy the show. But in the middle of all this fun, there was one woman who didn't seem to fit in. She wasn't laughing or clapping. She wasn't juggling or taming lions. She was just standing there, all by herself, sweeping the ground near the big top. The big top, by the way, is the giant tent where all the best circus shows happen. It's the heart of the circus, the place where everyone wants to be. But this woman? She wasn't in the spotlight. She wasn't even close to it. She was just sweeping, moving her broom back and forth, picking up bits of popcorn, candy wrappers, and dirt. Her name was Lila Carter, or at least, that's what everyone called her. She had dark hair tied back in a messy ponytail, and she wore a plain gray shirt and old, dusty pants. Her shoes were scuffed, and her hands were rough from working hard. To the circus crew, the people who worked at the circus, she was just the cleanup girl. That's what they called her, anyway. "Hey, clean up girl, sweep over there," they'd say. Or, "Clean up girl, don't forget the trash by the popcorn stand." They didn't even use her real name most of the time. To them, she was just someone who did the boring jobs, the jobs nobody else wanted to do. To the audience, the people who came to watch the circus, she was even less than that. She was invisible. When families walked by, their eyes were on the bright lights, the clowns, the acrobats flipping through the air. Nobody noticed the quiet woman with the broom. Nobody stopped to say hi or ask her name. She was like a shadow, always there but never seen. And then, there were the bikers. Oh, the bikers. On that dusty afternoon, just when the circus was getting busy, a loud, roaring sound filled the air. Vroom, vroom, vroom. It was the sound of big, shiny motorcycles zooming into the fairgrounds. The ground shook as they sped in, kicking up clouds of dust that made the kids cough and wave their hands in front of their faces. The bikers stopped their bikes with a screech, and the engines growled like angry dogs. There were 5 of them, all wearing black leather jackets with shiny silver chains dangling from their pockets. They had helmets, but they took them off, showing messy hair and mean grins. They looked tough. They looked scary. And they looked like trouble. The leader of the bikers was a big guy named Rex. He was the biggest and the loudest of them all. He had a scruffy beard, a shiny earring in one ear, and a voice that boomed like thunder. When he laughed, it wasn't a nice laugh. It was a mean laugh, the kind that makes you want to hide. Rex climbed off his bike and looked around the circus, his eyes squinting like he was hunting for something or someone. And guess who he saw? Lila. Quiet, invisible Lila, sweeping the ground with her broom. Rex pointed at her and laughed, a big, loud laugh that made the other bikers laugh too. "Hey, look at this!" Rex shouted, his voice dripping with meanness. "A little circus mouse, sweeping up dirt. What a sad job." The other bikers nodded and chuckled, pointing at Lila like she was a joke. To the bikers, Lila was nothing but a target. She was someone small, someone quiet, someone they could pick on. They didn't think she mattered. They didn't think she was strong. They didn't think she was important. Oh, but here's the thing: nobody knew the real Lila. Not the circus boss, who only cared about selling tickets. Not the clowns, who were too busy painting their faces. Not the jugglers or the lion tamer or the kids eating cotton candy. And definitely not those bikers. Lila wasn't just sweeping up popcorn and candy wrappers. Oh no. She was sweeping up secrets. Secrets about the circus, secrets about the people in it, and even secrets about those bikers. While everyone thought she was just a boring cleanup girl, Lila was watching, listening, and remembering everything. She wasn't ordinary. She wasn't weak. She was something else, something amazing, something dangerous, something nobody would ever guess. And those bikers. Those loud, mean bikers who thought they could scare her, push her around, and ruin the circus. They were about to learn a lesson they'd never forget. A lesson that would make their jaws drop, their eyes pop, and their hearts race. Because Lila wasn't just a cleanup girl. She was a hero in hiding. And heroes? Heroes always have a way of surprising you. What do you think Lila's hiding, huh? Is she just a regular person, or is there something super special about her? Stick around, because the story is about to get wild. Oh, and don't forget to answer my question in the comments. Have you ever met someone who turned out to be totally different from who you thought they were? I bet you have some awesome stories to share. The bikers screeched to a stop, their engines growling like angry beasts. The noise was loud, so loud it made the ground shake a little. The kids at the circus covered their ears, and even the clowns stopped juggling for a second to look. The motorcycles were big and shiny, with black paint and silver parts that sparkled in the sun. But they didn't look friendly. They looked mean, like the kind of machines that belong to people who don't play nice. Their leader, a big guy named Rex, climbed off his bike first. He was huge, like a bear standing on two legs. He wore a black leather jacket that creaked when he moved, and he had a mean grin on his face, the kind of grin that says, "I'm trouble, and I like it." His boots were heavy, making loud thumps on the ground as he walked. The rest of the gang followed him, jumping off their bikes and laughing loud, mean laughs. They pointed at the circus tents, at the popcorn stands, at the kids holding cotton candy. But most of all, they pointed at Lila. Lila was still sweeping, her broom moving back and forth, picking up dirt and popcorn crumbs. She didn't look up, not at first. She just kept working, like the bikers weren't even there. But Rex saw her, and oh boy, did he decide she was the perfect person to pick on. "Hey, circus girl!" Rex shouted, his voice booming like a big drum. He walked right up to Lila and kicked over a bucket of water she had been using to mop. The water splashed everywhere, making a big, wet mess on the ground. Some of it even got on Lila's shoes, but she didn't move. She didn't jump or yell or cry. She just stood there, holding her broom, her face calm and still. "What's a little mouse like you doing in a place like this?" Rex said, his voice full of meanness. "Don't you know this is our turf?" He said our turf like the circus belonged to him, like he was the king of the fairgrounds and everyone else was just in his way. The other bikers laughed, their voices loud and rough. They crowded around Rex, pointing at Lila and making fun of her. "Look at her broom," one of them said, snickering. "What a boring job." Another one added, "Yeah, she's just a nobody. A little mouse, like Rex said." Lila didn't flinch. She didn't jump or run or shout back. She just kept sweeping, her eyes looking down at the ground, her face as calm as a quiet lake. But if you looked closely, really closely, you'd see something. You'd see her fingers tighten on the broom, gripping it just a little harder. You'd see the tiniest spark of fire in her eyes, like a candle flickering in the dark. It wasn't fear in her eyes. Oh no. It was something else. Something strong. Something dangerous. "Ah, look at her," one of the bikers jeered, his voice loud and nasty. "Too scared to talk. Too scared to even look at us." He laughed, and the others joined in, their laughs echoing through the circus. "Maybe we should mess up the circus a little, huh, Rex," the biker said, grinning like a fox. "Teach these clowns who's boss." Rex smirked, his mean grin growing even bigger. He stepped closer to Lila, so close that his shadow fell over her like a big, dark cloud. "Yeah, maybe we should," he said, his voice low and scary. "What do you say, Mouse? Got anything to say before we trash this place?" He leaned down, trying to look right into her eyes, trying to scare her, trying to make her shake or cry or run away. But Lila didn't shake. She didn't cry. She didn't run. She stayed quiet, her broom still moving back and forth, back and forth. To the bikers, it looked like she was weak. It looked like she was scared. It looked like she was nothing. But inside, oh, inside, her mind was racing. Her thoughts were moving fast, like a race car zooming around a track. She wasn't scared. Oh no. She was watching. She was watching Rex's every move, noticing how he walked, how he talked, how he held himself like he thought he was the biggest, toughest guy in the world. She was counting the number of bikers, 5 of them, all big and loud and mean. She was looking at the knives on their belts, shiny and sharp, tucked into leather holders. She was seeing the chains dangling from their pockets, heavy and clinking with every step they took. She was watching, listening, remembering. She wasn't just a circus worker, sweeping up dirt and popcorn. She was something else. Something dangerous. Something the bikers couldn't even imagine. The bikers didn't know it, but they were the ones in trouble. They thought they were the hunters, but really, they were the ones being hunted. Lila wasn't a mouse. She was a lion, hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to roar. And that moment? It was coming soon. Very soon. The bikers kept laughing, kept pointing, kept making fun of Lila. Look at her, just sweeping, one of them said. What a boring life. Another one added, yeah, she's nothing. Just a nobody in a stupid circus. They thought they were so smart, so tough, so strong. But they didn't see the truth. They didn't see the fire in Lila's eyes, the strength in her hands, the secrets in her mind. They didn't know that every mean word, every laugh, every kick of the bucket was making her more determined, more ready, more dangerous. The circus crew watched from far away, too scared to do anything. The clowns hid behind their big red noses, the jugglers dropped their balls, and the kids with cotton candy ran to their parents. Everyone was afraid of the bikers, afraid of their loud voices, their shiny knives, their mean grins. But Lila? She wasn't afraid. She was ready. Ready for what, you ask? Oh, just wait. Just wait and see. Days passed, and the bikers kept coming back to the circus. Each time they roared in on their big, shiny motorcycles, they got bolder, meaner, and louder. At first, they just shouted and laughed, kicking over buckets and making messes. But soon, they started doing worse things. They knocked over tents, pulling at the ropes until the big red tents wobbled and fell. The kids screamed, and the parents ran to grab them. The bikers thought it was funny, laughing their loud, mean laughs as the circus turned into a mess. They scared the animals, too. The lions roared in their cages, the elephants trumpeted loudly, and the little circus dogs barked and hid under the trailers. One time, a biker even opened a cage door, just to watch the monkeys run out and climb the tents. The circus crew had to chase the monkeys for hours to get them back, and the bikers just watched and laughed, pointing like it was the funniest thing in the world. And oh, the popcorn. The bikers didn't just scare people and animals, they stole things, too. They grabbed big handfuls of popcorn right out of the kids' hands, leaving the kids crying and running to their parents. This is our circus now. Rex, the leader, shouted, throwing popcorn into the air like it was confetti. We do what we want. The circus boss, Mr. Thompson, was furious. His face turned red, and his hands shook, but he was too afraid to do anything. Mr. Thompson was a big man with a big voice, but when it came to the bikers, he felt small. He gathered the circus crew together one night, whispering so the bikers wouldn't hear. They'll leave soon, he said, his voice quiet and shaky. Just stay out of their way. Don't make them mad. If we ignore them, they'll get bored and go away. The circus crew nodded, their eyes wide with fear. The clowns stopped smiling, the jugglers put down their balls, and the lion tamer hid his whip. Everyone was scared of the bikers, scared of their loud voices, their shiny knives, their mean grins. Everyone, that is, except Lila. Lila didn't stay out of their way. Oh no. She watched. She listened. And she planned. While the bikers thought she was just the quiet, boring cleanup girl, Lila was busy. Busy watching how they moved, busy listening to what they said, busy thinking of ways to stop them. Every time they knocked over a tent, she swept up the dirt and remembered. Every time they scared an animal, she fed the animals treats and remembered. Every time they stole popcorn, she gave the kids new bags and remembered. Lila wasn't scared. She was smart. And smart people? They always have a plan. One night, after the circus closed and the lights went dim, Lila slipped into the shadows. The fairgrounds were quiet, the only sounds were the soft snores of the animals and the rustle of the wind through the tents. Lila moved like a ghost, silent and quick. Her feet didn't make a sound as she tiptoed through the dark. She wasn't wearing her usual gray shirt and dusty pants. Tonight, she wore all black, like a shadow herself, blending into the night so no one could see her. She crouched behind a trailer, hiding in the dark, and listened. Rex and his gang were sitting around a fire, their motorcycles parked nearby. They were laughing and talking, their voices loud and rough. Rex was the loudest, as always. "This circus is easy pickings," he said, laughing his big, mean laugh. "These clowns are scared of us. They won't do a thing to stop us." The other bikers nodded, grinning like foxes. "Tomorrow," Rex said, leaning forward, his eyes shining in the firelight, "we take everything, their money, their gear, all of it. This circus belongs to us now." The bikers cheered, raising their fists in the air. They thought they were so smart, so strong, so unbeatable. But they didn't know someone was listening. They didn't know Lila was there, hiding in the shadows, hearing every word. And as she listened, Lila's lips curled into a tiny smile. It wasn't a scared smile or a sad smile. It was a clever smile, the kind of smile you make when you know something nobody else does. "Not if I stop you first," she whispered to herself, so quietly that even the wind couldn't hear. The next morning, the bikers woke up to a big surprise. They jumped out of their tents, ready to cause more trouble, but something was wrong. Very wrong. Their big, shiny motorcycles, the ones they loved more than anything, weren't starting. The engines wouldn't growl, no matter how hard they tried. "What's going on?" Rex shouted, kicking his bike in anger. Then they looked closer and saw the problem. Their tires were flat, completely flat, like pancakes squashed on the ground. Someone had let all the air out. But that wasn't all. Their precious leather jackets, the ones they wore like badges of honor, were ruined. They were covered in bright pink paint, big, messy splashes of color that dripped onto the ground. The bikers screamed and shouted, holding up their jackets and shaking their fists. "Who did this?" Rex roared, storming through the fairgrounds, his face red with anger. "Who dared to mess with us?" Rex's eyes landed on Lila. There she was, sweeping the ground as always, her broom moving back and forth, back and forth. She looked so innocent, so quiet, so boring. "Was it you, Mouse?" Rex yelled, pointing a big, angry finger at her. "Did you do this to our bikes? Our jackets?" Lila just shrugged, her face calm and sweet. "Me," she said, her voice soft and kind. "I'm just the cleanup girl. But oh, if you looked closely, really, really closely, you'd see something. You'd see her eyes twinkle with a secret, like stars shining in the night sky. You'd see the tiniest smile on her lips, a smile that said, 'I know something you don't.'" Rex glared at her, his fists clenched, his face redder than a tomato. But he didn't know what to do. He didn't have proof it was Lila. He didn't know how a quiet, boring cleanup girl could do something so big, so bold, so clever. So he just stomped away, shouting at his gang to fix the bikes and clean the jackets. But deep down, he was starting to wonder. Was Lila really just a cleanup girl? Or was there something more to her, something he couldn't see? Who do you think is behind all this mischief? Is Lila really as innocent as she seems? Or is she hiding something big, something amazing, something super cool? Stick around, the truth is about to come out. And hey, don't forget to let me know in the comments, what would you do to stop mean bikers like Rex? I can't wait to hear your awesome ideas. That night, the bikers made their move. The circus was dark and quiet, the big red tents standing still under the starry sky. The kids and families had gone home, the clowns had washed off their makeup, and the animals were asleep in their cages. The only sounds were the soft rustle of the wind and the snores of the circus crew, tucked away in their trailers. It was the perfect time for the bikers to do something bad, something really, really bad. Under the cover of darkness, Rex and his gang crept toward the circus boss's trailer. Their boots were quiet on the grass, and their faces were hidden in the shadows. Rex had a big, mean grin on his face, the kind of grin that says, "I'm about to win, and nobody can stop me." The trailer was where Mr. Thompson, the circus boss, kept all the money from ticket sales, all the shiny coins and crinkly bills. The bikers wanted to steal every penny they could find, to take it all and leave the circus with nothing. Rex reached the trailer door, his big hands stretching out to grab the handle. His gang was right behind him, holding bags to stuff the money in, their eyes wide with excitement. They thought they were so smart, so sneaky, so strong. But just as Rex's fingers touched the door, something happened. Something big. Something loud. Something bright. A spotlight snapped on, shining right in Rex's face. The light was so bright, it was like the sun had decided to wake up early. Rex shouted, "What the?" and threw his hands up to shield his eyes. The other bikers stumbled back, blinking and yelling, trying to see through the blinding light. They couldn't see a thing, not the trailer, not the tents, not even each other. They were stuck, confused, and scared. And then, a voice cut through the darkness. A strong, sharp voice that didn't sound scared or quiet or weak. "Looking for me, Rex," the voice said, loud and clear, echoing through the fairgrounds. The bikers blinked, trying to see where the voice was coming from. The spotlight moved, shining away from them and onto the center of the big top ring, the heart of the circus. And there, standing tall and proud, was Lila. But oh, she didn't look like the Lila they knew. She didn't look like the quiet, boring clean-up girl anymore. Gone was the dusty apron that covered her clothes. Gone was the old broom she always held. Gone was the messy ponytail and the scuffed shoes. Now, Lila looked like someone else, someone amazing, someone powerful, someone unstoppable. She wore a sleek black outfit, shiny and smooth, like the kind of clothes superheroes wear in movies. Her hair was pulled back tight, not a single strand out of place, making her look sharp and strong. In her ear, a tiny earpiece blinked with a little green light, like something spies use in secret missions. And in her hand, she held a strange device that looked like a remote control, with buttons and lights and a big, red switch. Rex blinked, his mouth hanging open like a fish out of water. Who are you?" he asked, his voice shaking for the first time. He didn't sound mean or tough anymore. He sounded confused, scared, lost. Lila stepped forward, her boots clicking on the ground, her eyes shining with fire. She didn't smile sweetly or shrug quietly like she did before. This time, she stood tall, her chin up, her shoulders back, like a queen in her castle. "Looking for me, Rex," she said again, her voice sharp and strong, cutting through the night like a knife. Before Rex could answer, Lila pressed a button on her strange device. And suddenly, the fairgrounds came alive. It was like the circus itself woke up to fight back. Traps sprang up everywhere, big and small, fast and sneaky. Nets dropped from the sky, big, strong nets made of thick rope, falling right on top of the bikers. The nets caught them like fish in a fisherman's trap, wrapping around their arms and legs so they couldn't move. Rex tried to run, but a rope shot out from the ground, tying his feet together. He fell with a big thump, his face in the dirt, yelling and kicking but going nowhere. The other bikers screamed, trying to get free, but more traps came. Ropes tied their hands, nets held them tight, and even big, heavy boxes fell from the tents, blocking their way. And then, the animals joined in. The lions roared, loud and scary, from their cages, making the bikers jump. The elephants trumpeted, their trunks high in the air, as if they were cheering. Even the little circus dogs barked and ran around, nipping at the bikers' heels. It was like the whole circus, every tent, every animal, every rope was part of Lila's plan. The bikers were caught, helpless, in the middle of Lila's trap. They couldn't move, couldn't run, couldn't fight. Rex, the big, tough leader, was on his knees, tangled in ropes, his leather jacket covered in dirt. He looked up at Lila, his eyes wide, his mean grin gone. "Who are you?" he shouted again, his voice full of fear. Lila stepped closer, holding her device high, the spotlight shining on her like she was the star of the show. "I'm Agent Lila Carter," she said, her voice strong and clear, like a hero in a story. "World-class spy. And you, Rex, just picked the wrong circus to mess with. The bikers gasped, their jaws dropping, their eyes popping out of their heads. A spy? Lila, the quiet, boring cleanup girl, was a spy. A world-class spy with traps and gadgets and plans. They couldn't believe it. They wouldn't believe it. But there she was, standing tall, strong, and unbeatable, with the whole circus behind her. As the bikers struggled in the nets, trying to wiggle free like fish caught in a fisherman's trap, a new sound filled the air. It was loud and high, a wee-oh-oh sound that made everyone turn their heads. Police sirens. They wailed in the distance, getting closer and closer, their red and blue lights flashing through the dark night. Lila had called for backup long before the bikers even knew they were in trouble. She wasn't just smart, she was super smart, always one step ahead, always ready with a plan. Within minutes, the police cars zoomed into the fairgrounds, their tires crunching on the dirt. The doors flew open, and out jumped police officers, their badges shining under the circus lights. They ran toward the bikers, who were still tangled in Lila's nets and ropes, yelling and kicking but going nowhere. The officers pulled out shiny silver handcuffs, clicking them onto the bikers' wrists with loud snap sounds. Rex, the big, tough leader, tried to pull away, but the nets held him tight, and soon his hands were cuffed behind his back, too. "You can't do this to me!" Rex shouted, his face red and angry, his voice loud but shaky. "I'm Rex. I'm the boss here." But the police officers didn't listen. They just pulled him up, holding his arms tight, and marched him toward the police cars. The other bikers were dragged along, too, their heads hanging low, their mean grins gone, their shiny knives and chains useless now. The circus crew, who had been hiding in fear, peeked out from their trailers. At first, they were quiet, their eyes wide, their mouths open, not sure what to think. But then, they saw the bikers being taken away, saw the police cars, saw Lila standing tall in the center of the ring, and something amazing happened. They started to cheer. The clowns clapped their big, floppy hands, the jugglers threw their balls in the air, and the lion tamer raised his whip like a flag. Even the animals joined in. The lions roared, the elephants trumpeted, and the little circus dogs barked and wagged their tails. The whole circus came alive, not with fear, but with joy. Mr. Thompson, the circus boss, ran up to Lila, his big belly bouncing as he hurried over. His jaw dropped, hanging open like a door with a broken hinge. You're a spy," he said, his voice full of surprise, his eyes as wide as saucers. He couldn't believe it. Lila, the quiet, boring cleanup girl, was a spy. A world-class spy with traps and gadgets and plans. It was like finding out your pet goldfish could fly. Lila smiled, not a shy smile or a scared smile, but a strong, proud smile, the kind of smile heroes have in stories. "Just doing my job, sir," she said, her voice calm but clear. "This circus is under my protection. And bullies like Rex? They don't stand a chance." She held her strange device in her hand, the one with the buttons and lights, and gave it a little pat, like it was her best friend. And maybe it was after all, it had helped her catch the bikers and save the day. As the police hauled the bikers away, Rex twisted around, his hands cuffed, his leather jacket still covered in dirt and pink paint. He glared at Lila, his eyes burning with anger, his mean grin replaced by a snarl. "This isn't over, Mouse," he shouted, his voice loud but weak, like a dog barking from behind a fence. "I'll get you. You'll see." Lila just laughed, a big, bright laugh that echoed through the fairgrounds. It wasn't a mean laugh like Rex's, it was a happy laugh, a strong laugh, a laugh that said, "I'm not afraid of you." "Oh, Rex," she said, shaking her head, her eyes twinkling like stars. "It's over for you. Enjoy your new home in jail." She waved at him, not a scared wave or a shy wave, but a big, bold wave, the kind you give to someone you know you'll never have to worry about again. The police shoved Rex into the back of a police car, his head bumping on the door as he tried to yell one more time. But the door slammed shut, and the sirens wailed again, wee-oh-oh, as the cars drove away, taking the bikers far, far from the circus. The kids who had been scared of the bikers, the ones who had lost their popcorn and cried, peeked out from behind their parents. Their eyes were wide, but not with fear anymore, with wonder. They looked at Lila, standing tall in her sleek black outfit, her hair pulled back, her earpiece blinking, and they saw something amazing. They saw a hero. The circus crew gathered around Lila, clapping and cheering, their voices loud and happy. The clowns honked their big red noses, the jugglers spun their balls, and the lion tamer cracked his whip in the air, not to scare, but to celebrate. Mr. Thompson shook Lila's hand, his big hand sweaty but strong. "Lila, you saved us," he said, his voice full of thanks. "You saved the circus. I can't believe it. I thought you were just the cleanup girl." Lila smiled again, her strong, proud smile. "I'm still the cleanup girl, sir," she said, picking up her old broom from the ground. "But I'm also Agent Lila Carter, world-class spy. And I clean up more than just dirt. I clean up trouble, too." She winked at Mr. Thompson, and he laughed, a big, booming laugh that made his belly shake. The kids ran up to Lila, their eyes shining, their mouths full of questions. "Are you really a spy?" one little girl asked, holding a stick of cotton candy. "Do you have a secret hideout?" a boy asked, his face covered in popcorn crumbs. "Can you teach me to set traps?" another kid shouted, jumping up and down. Lila laughed, her bright, happy laugh, and knelt down to their level. "Maybe one day," she said, ruffling their hair. "But for now, just remember, heroes can be anyone, even the quiet ones." The circus crew cheered again, louder this time, their voices filling the night. Lila wasn't invisible anymore. She wasn't just the cleanup girl, the one nobody noticed, the one nobody cared about. Now, she was a hero, a star, a friend. The kids who had been scared of the bikers now looked at her with wide, admiring eyes, like she was the best thing they'd ever seen. The crew who had ignored her now clapped for her, smiled at her, thanked her. Lila, the quiet, boring cleanup girl, was the biggest, brightest star in the circus. As the circus lights twinkled like tiny stars and the night grew quiet, Lila stood in the center of the ring, looking up at the big, bright stars in the sky. She had saved the day, but more than that, she had shown everyone something important. She had shown them that appearances can be tricky. The way someone looks doesn't tell you who they really are. Sometimes, the quietest person in the room is the strongest. Sometimes, the one who seems weak is the one who holds all the power. And those who judge others by how they look, they're the ones who miss the truth. They're the ones who never see the amazing surprises coming. So, what did you think of Lila's story? Did it surprise you? Let me know in the comments below, and if you loved this adventure, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories just like this. Remember, you never know who might be hiding a secret, maybe even someone you know. See you next time.